The galactic register was not cruel by intention. It was cruel by efficiency. Every sentient species was categorized, evaluated, and labeled according to usefulness, strategic value, resource output, military relevance. There were warriors, there were thinkers, there were builders, and then there were the rest. Humanity was filed under a quiet category few species ever escaped: non-essential. The entry was short. Species exhibits high emotional volatility, internal conflict, inefficient governance structures, technologically creative but strategically undisciplined, suitable for auxiliary labor and secondary colonization only. No one protested, not even humans. When humanity joined the Galactic Union, they were grateful just to be included. They accepted contracts no one else wanted, terraforming dead worlds, repairing old stations, hauling supplies through unstable regions. They joked about it. "Someone's got to do the dirty work," they said. The galaxy let them. What the register did not record, because it had no category for it, was something older than spaceflight. Humans were not optimized for peace. They were optimized for endurance. While elder species perfected elegant doctrines of warfare, humans practiced chaos. While others trusted treaties, humans prepared for betrayal. While civilizations relied on systems, humans relied on each other. And when the war began, the register did not update fast enough. It started far from Earth. A coalition of expansionist species, calling themselves the Carax Accord, rejected Union authority and launched a sudden, overwhelming offensive. Their fleets were massive, coordinated, ruthless. Core worlds fell in weeks. Union admirals argued doctrine. Councils debated ethics. Ancient races demanded time. Time was what they did not have. Supply lines collapsed. Refugee stations overflowed. Entire sectors went dark. In desperation, the Union activated emergency protocols. All available species were mobilized, even the non-essential ones. Human convoys were redirected overnight. Terraformers became engineers of fortification. Cargo pilots learned evasive maneuvers under fire. Medical crews treated alien anatomies they had never seen before. Still, no one expected humans to change the war. They were only meant to support it. But support, as humanity understood, did not mean standing behind. It meant standing until nothing else could. And when the first Union battle group survived a Carax ambush, against all predictions, one analyst quietly flagged the report. The victory did not belong to superior ships or ancient weapons. It belonged to human planning. The register remained unchanged. For now, the first real change did not come with an announcement. It came with a report no one wanted to explain. A Union fleet, outnumbered 3-1, survived a direct Carax assault. Not only survived, escaped with minimal losses. The tactical replay confused analysts. The maneuvers were messy, asymmetrical, almost reckless. But they worked. The fleet commander credited human coordinators, assigned to logistics optimization. Humans had rerouted fuel ships mid-battle, used damaged freighters as moving cover, and deliberately leaked false retreat signals that baited the Carax into overextending. No doctrine supported these decisions. No simulation predicted success. Yet the fleet lived. More incidents followed. Human-managed convoys arrived early, late, or not at all, always exactly when needed. Carax ambushes began failing. Their forces struck empty space or walked into traps designed with uncomfortable precision. The Carax commanders grew angry. They accused the Union of hiding a new warrior species. The Union denied it. After all, humans were still officially non-essential. Behind the scenes, however, quiet changes were happening. Human advisors were requested more often. Their recommendations were no longer filtered. When humans spoke, admirals listened, not because they trusted them, but because ignoring them had started to feel dangerous. A senior Union strategist finally asked a human commander why their methods worked. The human paused before answering. "Because we assume everything will go wrong," he said, "and then we plan for what happens after that." The strategist did not understand. Not fully. But the war did. The Karax Accord began losing territory, not in dramatic defeats, but in slow, bleeding inefficiencies, supply shortages, command misfires, internal panic. Their enemies no longer fought them head-on. They fought their expectations. And humans were very good at breaking expectations. When the Karax finally adapted, it was already too late. They decided to remove the variable. They targeted Earth. The decision was logical. Earth was lightly defended. Earth was far from the front. Earth was symbolic. Destroy the human homeworld, and the strange chaos infecting the war would disappear. The Union detected the invasion force too late. By the time warnings reached Earth, the Karax fleet was already emerging from hyperspace. There was panic, brief, sharp human panic. Then something remarkable happened. Earth did not ask the Union what to do. Earth did not wait for permission. Earth mobilized. Civilian traffic vanished overnight. Orbital infrastructure reconfigured itself. Satellites became weapons. Factories shifted from commerce to war production without orders, without hesitation. The Karax expected fear. They found preparation. What followed was not a battle in the traditional sense. It was a storm of coordinated madness. Swarms of drones piloted by civilians, trained through simulations and games. Ships crewed by volunteers who had never seen combat but understood sacrifice. Humanity did not match the Karax in power. They overwhelmed them in will. 6 hours after the first shot, the invasion fleet was gone. Not retreating, gone. The Union watched in stunned silence. No one updated the register immediately. No one knew what number to assign, because the category itself no longer made sense. And, somewhere deep in the Union archives, a junior clerk added a small unofficial note to humanity's file. Non-essential designation under review. The war was far from over, but the galaxy had learned something irreversible. Humanity was no longer helping from the sidelines. They had entered the equation, and equations once changed never returned to their original form. The destruction of the Karax invasion fleet should have ended the discussion. It did not. Instead, it started arguments across the Galactic Union that grew louder by the hour. Emergency councils were called. Ancient species that had not spoken in centuries suddenly demanded the floor. No one was asking how humanity had won. They were asking what humanity would do next. For the first time since the war began, fear was not directed at the enemy. It was directed inward. Union commanders reviewed battle footage again and again. They slowed it down, enhanced it, analyzed every decision. What disturbed them was not the technology. Much of it was crude by galactic standards. What disturbed them was intent. Human tactics were not designed to win battles. They were designed to end threats permanently. Where other species sought dominance or territory, humans sought resolution. Finality. A senior admiral finally voiced what many were thinking. "If they can do this without our permission," he said, What happens when they stop asking? The question lingered. Meanwhile, humans returned to the front lines, not celebrated, not paraded. They went back to work as they always had, repairing ships, coordinating evacuations, optimizing routes. But now no one ignored them. Human advisors were quietly placed in every major command structure. Officially, they were still support. Unofficially, battles stopped being planned without them. And the results were undeniable. Entire Karax strongholds collapsed without direct assaults. Human planners identified social fracture points within enemy species, ritual dependencies, authority myths, communication bottlenecks. The war turned surgical, efficient, cruel, some said. Humans did not argue. They understood cruelty. They had lived with it long before the stars. The Karax Accord began to unravel. Some factions attempted negotiation. Others doubled down on brutality. None understood what they were facing. Because humanity was no longer reacting. They were anticipating. Then came the message. A transmission broadcast on open channels across Union space. It was not encrypted. It was not aggressive. It was simple. We acknowledge humanity as a strategic anomaly. We propose direct engagement. It came from the Karax High Dominion itself. The Union panicked. Negotiation with the enemy was tightly regulated. Only authorized species could speak on behalf of the Alliance. Humans were not authorized. They responded anyway. The reply was brief. You attacked our home. You lost that privilege. The Karax did not understand the tone. There was no anger in the human voice, no threat, just a statement of fact. What followed was not diplomacy. It was a lesson. Human fleets began coordinated strikes across multiple sectors simultaneously. Attacks that ignored traditional fronts. They targeted shipyards, data nexuses, leadership enclaves, always precisely, always with minimal collateral damage. Union analysts realized something horrifying. Humans were not trying to defeat the Karax. They were trying to remove the concept of the Karax Accord from the galaxy. One by one, Karax worlds surrendered, not because they were beaten, but because resistance no longer made sense. Their structures were gone. Their command logic dismantled. Within months, the Accord ceased to exist. The war ended not with a treaty, but with silence. The Galactic Register finally updated humanity's status. The clerk hesitated before finalizing it. No existing category fit. In the end, a temporary designation was applied. Essential, with restrictions. Humans never commented on it. They simply returned to Earth, rebuilt what was damaged, and waited. Because humanity knew something the galaxy did not. Peace was never permanent, and when the next threat arrived, they intended to be ready. The galaxy enjoyed peace for exactly 11 years. For most species, it felt like a gift. Trade routes reopened, border fleets stood down, ancient councils returned to their rituals and debates. The war with the Karax Accord became a historical lesson, carefully framed as a triumph of unity. Humanity did not celebrate the same way. They rebuilt Earth's defenses instead of dismantling them. Their fleets remained active, rotating crews constantly. Human advisors declined permanent seats on the Union Council, choosing observation over authority. This unsettled many. Peace to the galaxy meant rest. To humans, peace meant preparation. The next threat did not announce itself with fleets or invasions. It arrived quietly, wrapped in diplomacy and ancient authority. They called themselves the Sovereign Continuum, older than most recorded civilizations, older even than the Union itself. They claimed stewardship, over large regions of space, citing ancient compacts no living species remembered signing. Their message was polite, cold. They demanded humanity's disarmament. The Union hesitated. The Continuum had never lost a war. Their technology operated on principles humanity had only theorized. Entire civilizations had vanished after refusing their guidance. For the first time since the Carax fell, Union leaders considered compliance. Humanity was asked for input. The human representative listened quietly, then spoke. No, just that. The chamber erupted. Threats were made. Warnings issued. The Continuum's envoy did not react. You misunderstand, it said. This is not a negotiation. You are disruptive. You destabilize equilibrium. The human replied calmly. So did fire. So did medicine. So did every species that refused to stay small. The Continuum gave the Union one cycle to decide. Behind closed doors, contingency plans were drawn. Most assumed humanity would eventually be sacrificed to preserve galactic stability. Humans assumed the opposite. They studied the Continuum the way they studied everything dangerous. Not with fear, but with focus. Patterns emerged. Predictable arrogance, reliance on overwhelming first strikes, absolute confidence in technological superiority. Humans had seen this before. At the end of the cycle, the Continuum attacked, not Earth, Union command. Their fleets bypassed borders, neutralized defense grids, and erased entire stations in seconds. It was clean, efficient, terrifying. The Union collapsed into chaos. Human fleets did not rush to defend. They vanished. For 3 days, humanity disappeared from galactic sensors entirely. On the 4th day, the Continuum learned why that was a mistake. Human strikes erupted everywhere at once. Not at fleets, but at infrastructure the Continuum believed untouchable. Ancient data vaults corrupted. Control AIs overwhelmed by recursive logic traps. Energy nexuses destabilized by feedback loops no one thought possible. The Continuum fought back with unimaginable force. Humans adapted. They lost ships. They lost people. They adjusted strategies mid-battle, rewrote tactics in real time, sacrificed assets without hesitation when outcomes demanded it. The war was brutal, short, asymmetric, and unmistakably human. When the Continuum flagship finally fell, its final transmission was broadcast unintentionally across Union space. You are not balanced, it said. You are not controlled. You are. The signal cut. Silence followed. The war was over. Again. This time there was no debate. The galactic register was rewritten. Humanity was no longer categorized by threat or utility. A new designation was created, one never before used. Systemic variable. A footnote accompanied it, written by an ancient species older than the Union itself. Do not provoke, do not underestimate, do not attempt to remove. Humanity is not a weapon. It is a force multiplier for survival. Earth remained unchanged. Cities thrived. Art flourished. Humans argued, joked, loved, and dreamed, as they always had. They did not conquer the galaxy. They did not rule it. They simply stood ready, and across the stars, whenever new civilization asked why humanity was treated with such caution, the answer was always the same. They were called non-essential once, historians would say, and the galaxy almost didn't survive the lesson.